Full hospital action for those members.
It's way early, it was actually.
Let's project. Shall we call the meeting to order?
We're ready to go.
Okay, very good. Next hearing is in this room and June 24th at 8:30 a.m. With that,
I do want to note that for June, July, and August meeting, we very well may be in a different space due to renovations that are set to occur in this room. So we will either be next door in room 205, or we'll be in the ground floor of the parking garage in that conference room. So I'll make sure that the email gets out with updates, but that's likely to happen.
correct. And that will not change the date.
Correct.
So with that, could we swear in the staff, please? Do you swear to affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, or so say I do?
I do.
Thank you very much. Okay, board roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Whitman,
Here.
Ms. Maniaci.
Here.
Ms. Barkley,
Here.
Ms. Brown,
Here.
Mr. Loversid,
Here.
Mr. Plumbonin,
Here.
Ms. Rittler,
Here.
Mr. Slanik. Okay. All right, we have a quorum.
Very good. Would you go over the hearing format, please?
Yes,
first, please?
so city staff, that's me, will present the staff report and application materials. The applicant will then sit at the presenter table, be sworn in and asked to present the materials. And then any registered speakers, we don't have any, but if there's anyone from the public that wants to speak, they can come up at the podium, be sworn in, and provided 3 minutes maximum to speak. And then commissioners will discuss the case and ask any questions if needed.
Okay, very good. With that, could I have a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting, please?
So moved.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Questions, comments, additions, deletions? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Let's just go ahead.
So our first case is for 145. Okay, for 145 North Grant Avenue for painting. 145 North Grant Avenue is located along Grant Avenue between Spring and Long Street. The applicant is seeking commission approval for the submitted paint color, which is Benjamin Moore White Sand OC-10. And at the April downtown hearing, the commission requested that the applicant return before the commission with a new richer paint color to closer match the renderings for the previously painted white brick on the building's exterior. The exterior paint is proposed only on brick that has already been painted. And submitted materials include a paint chip and an image depicting the new chip against the existing white brick. And the downtown design guidelines recommend that adaptive reuse of buildings is generally preferable to demolition and new construction. And that the storefront should be repaired and maintained where possible. And the proposal is consistent with the downtown design guidelines. And here you can see they have that paint chip and they took a photo against the existing paint color. So you can see it's a little bit richer there. And I think some of these were seen before, but we have the elevations here and all of this is getting painted. See that overview there. And yeah, that's what we have. Thank
Great.
you.
Is the applicant here today, please? Good morning. Could you identify yourselves for the record, please?
Yes. Christina Panofska with Grad Architects.
Sangeeta Lakhani with Service.
Could you raise your right hands? Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So say I do.
I do.
I do.
Thank you very much. Why don't we start off on this end? Maybe questions, comments, thoughts?
That was the only outstanding issue, right?
Correct.
Everything else has been approved. And what's the pleasure? Do you,
I move approval.
did you bring a speech for us today or?
I did not, but I did bring, this was the previous albatross color that you had asked for us to reconsider. And this is the current paint sample.
Okay.
And as you can see,
Very
there
good.
is a significant difference. Yeah.
Okay, so there is a motion proposed. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. Questions, comments, anything from the audience? All those in favor say
Thank you
aye.
for listening to it.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This next one is for 4 East Broad Street for graphics. And this is located at the northeast corner of Broad and High. So if we remember the Mr. Peanut sign, this is that same location, but a little bit higher. So the applicant is seeking commission approval to install a 40-inch by 166-inch LED illuminated wall sign on the building's south facade. The wall sign consists of white aluminum letter cans with blue and purple acrylic bases mounted to a gray backer. And submitted materials include a site plan, existing site images, sign renderings, and sign mounting information. And quickly look at that. So this is the location. So we have High, we have Broad, and then the sign is right here. And then this is kind of zoom in here. It's for the Robert Weiler Company. If we zoom in, this is the facade here, and it's going to go just right there. I think Mr. Peanut is here, and so if you remember, this is the facade for that. But there's the elevations there, you have the sign, and then the mounting details here. And after review, the downtown design guidelines recommend that buildings should not be dominated by graphics and that crowded or cluttered graphic arrangements should be avoided. The guidelines also state that buildings with multiple tenant spaces should establish a cohesive rhythm appropriate to the building for the placement of wall signs. Staff notes there are 2 existing Robert Weiler signs on the south facade, in addition to other tenant signage, including the Planters Peanut projecting sign that was recently approved by the commission. The rose wall sign is somewhat consistent with the downtown design guidelines, so there's just some things for y'all to consider. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Could the applicant come up, please? Morning.
Morning.
Could you identify yourself for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Paul Lida with Sign Effects.
And would you raise your right hand? You swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So say I do.
I do.
Thank you. Can we see I think the thing to do is let's look at the image of the building if we could.
I can pop up Google.
I got it quick now. Does it go where those 2 signs? So that means
No,
those 2
they're-
go away, right?
No, there's actually, it's gonna go above there. See where all the holes are in the building? There was an existing sign there before. So what we're gonna be doing is covering up all those holes with the pan and mounting the letters to
I
that.
see. Okay.
So we're gonna clean up the facade of the building quite a bit, with what we call reverse pan. And that'll be able to give us a place to mount all the electronics and wiring and everything else. The RW would stay. And then the other one to the left of that currently says the Robert Weiler Company, we were gonna change that just to say since whatever. You know, so like, since 19, I can't remember the exact date on top of it.
Right.
But that's the idea. So that's on the left is the proposal, on the right is the existing.
So what you're really talking about is 1 sign on there that says Robert Weiler.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
one sign that say Robert Weiler, then their actual logo, the RW, and then the other one is just basically a tagline.
Okay. Questions, comments?
Was the RW, that's also for Robert Weiler as well?
Yeah, that is their logo.
3 signs representing the company on the one facade.
Yeah, I mean, we originally did the one on the left. Oh geez, I want to say 12, 15 years ago. When they had another tenant that was using the other space. Then when that tenant moved over and the Weiler Company took it over, that sign was removed and, you know, they basically would just, they wanted to take advantage of that space and at the same time clean up the facade of the building.
What's the On the upper left image, what is the black and purple stripe by the, yeah, can you pan that to the center of the screen, please? Did you see that black and purple stripe? What is that?
I'm not sure what that is, to be honest.
Okay, that's just a
Is it
goober,
dry?
not something, not part of the signage.
No, that's not part of the signage. All we're doing is the pan.
Dimension.
Is that light, is that lit?
Yeah, that would be illuminated.
See, remember, they have that part of this thing, and this is kind of ancient history, but part of it was a discussion about actually getting some liveliness and activity there. And so part of this thing was the lights, remember that, Bob?
Well, there used to be a lot more stuff going
Yeah.
on. They moved it down over time. This is kind of busy, but it's a corner that we said should be busy, so I guess it doesn't bother me.
Right, and I believe the EMCs, the big EMCs around the corner, I think some of those were going away. If I recall, I don't know if that's actually happened.
Some of them have already gone away.
Have they? I know there was discussions about that. That wasn't our company. That was a different company. I know that was working on that project. When we were first down talking to Skip and Bob about all this, they informed us that they thought some of those were going away. Because that was a concern we had too. We're like, there's going to be a lot going on here. When we were talking about it, we were talking about it more from a design perspective, not so much as a regulatory perspective.
I think the sign to the left that you said will be changed out for a since sign. I think if that is something that is simple and maybe not as square and maybe, just uses the bottom portion of that panel and looks minimalist, that might really help because it does seem really busy now where I can't really focus on anything and there's no cohesiveness. But I think that if that sign that you're planning to change out is done, like in a skillful way, that's a smaller and I think.
Yeah,
that
to be honest, I think at that point, I'd have to confer with our client, but I think at that point, we'd probably just remove it.
Just remove it.
Yeah.
Frankly, I think it would be better visually if it were gone.
Yeah, and that was something we actually did go back and forth on a little bit. What we were going to do is the one that's there now, as you can see on the right, it actually says the Robert Weiler Company. So the idea was they just wanted us to reface it. It was an economical thing to do that while we were already going to have all the equipment there in the street, basically closed off, we could do all that.
Then my vote would be like you said, to just remove it and just leave it. Is that what you were saying, that you would just remove the sign?
Well, I'm just saying that's, we would obviously confer with them, but
He's saying he's not making the decision,
I
but he could take that back.
yeah, I could certainly take it back to
Would
them.
that leave more holes in the building?
Yes, it would.
What is that? Is that a metal skin on there?
It
Are those
is.
holes closed, covered over?
I guess we could make a new one, but the problem we get into then is color, paint matching and everything else. It's not gonna be the same exact texture, so it's always gonna stick out from the rest of the building. That's the big issue you get into when you're covering with blank panels. If you have graphics on there, there's enough to detract the eye from the color that it doesn't usually stand out.
I guess if you were going to, because you said you can't really expose it because there'd be holes, maybe treat it like you did, like the Worth sign where the background is similar so that it's not introducing, like you have a different color, of course, for the text, but the background panel is not introducing another.
So change the color scheme out to more of a gray with white lettering.
For just that one, the one that you said is going to be taken down and it's going to say since.
Could be the gray with white lettering or gray with.
Yeah, just change out the color palette of that sign. Yeah, because we were just gonna do a face swap on it now. That was the idea. We were just gonna swap the faces out, the can, all the electronics were gonna stay there because it does light up.
Okay, I guess I didn't. Can you point to what we're talking about? I just want to make sure that I'm understanding.
Yeah, that one right there.
Okay, so you were saying that the back would, that you were thinking of just leaving the blue background and then changing the letters? Is that?
Well, we would put a whole new face on, so that is what it would look like now. That's what we're proposing it would look like.
Oh,
The one on the right,
It's a new face. Pardon me, it could be gray with purple lettering.
yeah.
yeah, maybe, yeah, I'm sure we could come up with a different option that they would
So
find
that
acceptable.
You're not introducing more shapes and more
Yeah, that would definitely tone that down
Yeah.
and not fight so much with the
Yeah.
RW.
Right.
I'm not objective to
Okay,
it.
great.
What if we approve it on that basis, assuming that your clients would accept that? If they don't, well,
Then we can
I
come back.
guess
Right.
we can talk more. Does that sound good?
Yeah,
Is there,
yeah.
could there be a motion to that effect, maybe?
That sounds great.
Anyone on the commission here want to make?
I move approval with the change that we required that smaller sign to be gray or silver background with purple letter.
Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
Okay, there's a second. Okay, any other questions, comments, thoughts? Anything from the audience? And I'm assuming it works for the applicant on that basis. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
One opposed, you say?
Yeah.
Okay. One opposed. Did you have that, Belkis?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you.
And that motion carries.
Yes. And with what?
All right, so the next is 55 East Main Street for new construction landscaping. So 55 East Main Street is located on the south side of East Main Street between South High and South Third Street. The applicant is seeking commission approval to fence in an existing surface parking lot with an 8-foot chain link fence, as well as add a new dumpster enclosure at the southeast corner of the lot. The parking lot will have 2 access gates, one with a card reader for entry. The existing parking lot will also be repaired and restriped, and the submission includes a site plan as well as fencing details. I'm just gonna quickly go to the map so y'all can see where I'm talking about. So this is the parking lot. This used to be O5, if that helps. We have Columbus Commons parking garage across the street. So it's this lot right here. I wonder if I could get an aerial view if I could. That didn't help, did it? Well, anywho, it's this. Does everyone understand what I'm talking about? Okay. So the downtown design guidelines state that high quality materials and design should be incorporated into parking lot screening, and specifically states that chain link fencing is not supported. And because of that, the proposal is generally inconsistent because of that chain link. And then if we go, this is their submittal here. They have a site plan and then some details about the materials that will be used. It looks like we have an EV charger involved, and then some notes about that fence. But really, it's the site plan that we want to zoom in on and take note of. But they just want to put that's the parking lot, probably to secure. That's all I got. Thank you.
Very good. Is someone here for the applicant, please?
Good morning.
Morning. Could you identify yourselves for the record, please?
Yes, I'm Brett Kramer. Joshua from Kramer Engineering.
You folks working for, related to, are you the owners? Tell us
Uh,
what your relationship is.
So
Please.
we're working for Franklin County for this project. It's the sheriff's office,
Okay.
and we're both with Kramer Engineers. I'm the owner of the company.
Okay. Would you raise your right hands? Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you very much. Okay, go ahead. Why don't you walk us through what you want to do, and why, and so forth.
Yep, so looking at the site plan, the building to plan left, 5-story building. It's going to be leased by the Franklin County Sheriff's Office. They're currently renovating the interior right now. The parking lot to the right is going to be used for their parking, and they want to secure the parking lot from the public. So initially, we proposed putting in an 8-foot chain link fence for direction from the client, which sounds like it's not consistent with the guidelines for downtown. So we have a few options. We submitted some images to Adam. I don't know if you have those we can share and look at some other options.
Yeah, it should be.
Oh, okay.
So originally, we proposed an 8-foot tall mini mesh chain link fence, so tighter mesh, but it's just a galvanized chain link fence. Some other options the sheriff's office would be open to is doing a no climb fence. They've done these at a few of their other facilities. So there's one option with no rails, and the option we would probably match would be one with a 3 horizontal rails across the fence. And screening, if required, they were not open to having any kind of landscape or any kind of buffer in front of the fence that could be used as a stepping mechanism to get up to the fence. So they would propose using fabric for the bottom half of the fence, so 4 foot of a black mesh fabric on the interior side of the fence. And then we have 2 vehicle gates, which could match the same anti-climb material. That'd be a black metal fence. So I don't know if we want to look at the site plan some more.
Yeah, why don't we look at the site plan? Does the fence go straight up to the property line then, if you say you don't want any landscaping?
So it's offset,
On the Main Street side?
offset because there's a billboard, which is kind of dash, and they wanted to have some,
Okay.
we need a little room for stacking for vehicles to pull in.
Uh-huh.
So it's offset from Main Street, and then it does a little jog back to get around the,
What would be in those spaces where you have the, up towards Main Street then in front of this fence area?
they're just gonna be striped off, no parking areas.
So it'd be,
Asphalt.
pavement, the asphalt
Yes.
pavement striped.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then you have the card reader as well, set back. I mean,
Yep, so that, there's a pedestal card reader set back, maybe 8 foot from the fence.
This is two new curb cuts then?
No existing curb cuts,
Pardon me?
existing curb cuts.
There are 2 there now?
There's 2, almost one big one. There's a little bit of curb in between them.
One big one.
The others are urban between action. Okay.
So I want to pivot for a second. I want to know what the building mounted anti-ram barrier is and what it looks like. So there's nothing in the drawings to explain that.
That
doesn't
is-
Sound like a good idea.
That is still up for discussion. The structural engineers handling that, not us. We have not seen anything come through on what they're proposing to the
It's on the
client.
drawing.
We had that on the plan for, our site compliance plan.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have it whenever they come back with it, we're gonna provide that. So if that's needed for the commission, we can request that and get that material submitted to them.
So that's gonna be on the building next door, so maybe with the understanding like this is just for the parking lot. And that RAM barrier is not a part of the approval today. Is that correct?
Well, he's saying that's not part of his scope of work, though, really, I think.
Right, so any final drawings that we receive to stamp should not have this included. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, but he says they're working on the building right now,
Okay.
so.
Do we have any standard details or requirements for screening parking?
Yes,
Oh,
yes, we do.
3
What would those be?
isn't one, I think,
So for surface parking lots, this is what the code states here and the guidelines. There's kind of 3 options for surface parking lot. We have a masonry wall between 3 and 4 feet in height. And then there's some constructive materials such as stone, brick, or veneer. Option 2 is a combination of masonry piers and it's pretty specific, of masonry piers and decorative metal fencing between 3 and 4 feet in height, set within a minimum 3-foot planting bed. And then again, detail of the materials. So again, stone, brick, veneer materials. Decorative metal fencing should be black in color, plant species, should be adapted to the urban environment. And then option 3 is applicants may propose an alternative to options 1 and 2 that achieves the result of delineating and to the degree appropriate screening the subject parking lot. Materials and design incorporated in alternative proposals should incorporate a high-quality design and materials. The use of railroad ties, chain link, plastic, and wood fencing in association with parking lots is not supported.
Just feels like, our civic and municipal partners should uphold the highest quality of our downtown standards. And it feels like we could also help them achieve their security objectives in concert.
Well, I think obviously this thing, our guidelines, when I read it, they contemplated, and this would be my understanding, of visual screening around a parking lot, so it gets kind of up mid windshield level
Yeah.
above the hood of the car, and it's not for the purpose of providing security. So this is a different thing. When I look at some of these black, the chain links doesn't work. I mean, so that's, you guys, you're out in front of us on that one, which is, we appreciate. So let's say if we look at some of the, I don't know, if we look at even something like that, this would be an exception. I mean, it's obviously an exception because it is for the police, function here. So, I mean, what do people think about it? And
I think it absolutely ignores our guidelines and creates what is currently an eyesore, makes it worse. I don't think there's anything about this that relates to.
what could they do to provide security and,
Well, I would start by, did you even consider having the vehicles enter and leave it on Noble Alley instead of on the main street?
Yeah, we looked at that traffic pattern, but the sheriff's
that
office
do?
didn't support it.
Why?
Josh, you remember why? I know you worked on the circulation plan.
So,
I think it's a pretty tight alley and there's street parking back there with meters.
yeah, if you go to the aerial along Noble, you're gonna see a lot of metered parking. And there's a lot of restrictions getting in and out. So there's a mobility issue of entering and exiting.
the part of the fence issue doesn't. They still don't want a fence for security stuff. I mean,
Yeah, but you wouldn't have to have all the.
I just wonder if
gates and,
you know,
and
that sort of,
this massive empty asphalt
spaces.
pavement in the front.
yeah, it seems like a combination of the landscape, the piers, some combination of those materials at the right of way, at the street edge, at the sidewalk could improve the quality of this streetscape environment here and still have the security fence 20, 30 feet back, whatever it was, so that we've got a series of, you know, tools working together to both create something that's aesthetically appropriate and provides the security that they need. And I agree with Bob. I mean, there's no reason that alley couldn't work, but I'm not gonna try to beat on that anymore. But the street frontage, why can't this be fantastic instead of a compromise?
I agree with that. I think from my perspective, I think one idea might be to incorporate masonry in it. And I understand that you have the issue that you want the height, and you also don't want something where somebody can use a ledge to, jump over. But maybe if that, you have the metal, but maybe you have it broken up with some masonry piers, and maybe you take advantage of the fact that this is set back on Main, and you create some type of small, I don't know, small little courtyard or something. Maybe it's not landscape, but maybe it's a little more of a hardscape, but something that's attractive. Because the way you have it now, it's really, it's not adding anything to the streetscape, it's really taking it away. So that would be my recommendation, to go back, deal with what the objective is, what you have to have for the security, but how you can enhance it and make it aesthetic.
Okay, would you be open to some kind of planting beds closer to the sidewalk set off from the fence?
I
Yeah.
think that would be wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah, that could be.
All right, we'd still have some big openings where the drives go through, so it'd be broken up a little bit.
To figure out how to do that, so you've got some presence of landscaping and without creating a hiding place for somebody between the landscaping and the fence.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you have a bed that goes along the sidewalk there, that's only 4 or 5 feet, and then you have some pavers behind that, so that you don't have the landscaping that goes right smack dab up to the fence. See what I mean?
Yep, makes sense.
I think there's an opportunity in the striped, parking area. We could probably do something aesthetic with that.
Yeah, yeah. And by the way, if you came back, from my text anyway, with, low planting material. Bob's point, it's not something somebody can hide behind. I think that'd be great for me. And I think you would help us if we say, sure, we want to help you get done what you want to get done. But really, this is not exactly the standard use that you would put into the security area for police vehicles.
But we have other high security areas in the downtown. It's possible to design something that's reasonable
Yes,
on this site that gives the sheriff the with the security they need without having it be such an eyesore. I think there's room for compromise here.
But I think we want to not have this look like it's a prison yard downtown.
Right.
I think, aside from the aesthetic upgrades that we're describing, I think the view of a prison fence with sheriff vehicles behind it is just not a good look for downtown. So I think the solution of aesthetic upgrades along the sidewalk can be a big help.
So so you're hearing that. What about fencing from everybody's standpoint? Does anybody can buy into this kind of thing or the other one?
Well, they're better than
Yes, obviously.
because the chain link that they had before, is not ordinary chain link. It's a really tight chain link that you
Well,
can't climb.
Is that one there? Is that what that is?
Yeah, that's a mini
Yeah.
mesh.
That's
That's-
no climb.
Yeah, it's hard to climb. It's a real tiny 1x1 square mesh.
Right.
And
So these
I
are
would
better.
think you'd want it in black, right? You don't want galvanized.
Right.
Yeah.
So what is, if they come back to us, what would folks?
I'm not quick, can you explain the material of this fence and then the third one that you showed? Are they the same, but it's just
It's the same, they just have 3 railings on the second option.
what exactly is that? Is that some type of well, it's metal, but is it some type of a metal mesh that we're looking at?
Yeah, but it's a metal mesh. It's
Mesh.
aluminum mesh that's painted black.
I see. Okay.
It's tight enough so you can't get fingers or your foot into it to climb it.
And you're not going to put razor wire on top. of it.
No, no razor wire downtown.
No concertina wire.
Just check it.
Is that, yep, he's a stickler for the guidelines.
It's also like a fabric screening with, as well, I guess, is that only applicable for the chain link, or would you do that?
They can do it for the no climb fence. It was an option the sheriff's office mentioned they've used at a lot of other sites. They propose it here instead of doing landscaping, but it doesn't sound like that's
Yeah,
gonna be
I don't think we should put that plastic on the fence.
I agree, no. I mean, I do think this is a better option than the chain link, right? I think maybe there's a study of, some masonry elements that are incorporated into some type of metal solution. I think, yeah, it's a very like utilitarian approach to the design. So I think think about what the pedestrian experience is like along the edge, would just help kind of advance the design thoughts.
Now, you have a building along the west side there, all the way along the line. Does this, would your fence run along the west side or the east side, I'm sorry, of that parking lot as well?
So it would go between the 2 buildings, so the post
Okay,
would be
yeah.
2 inches off the building.
Okay. Questions, comments?
Why do you need a fence to go that's right off the building?
Well, so they want
He does.
the whole lot secured. They have holding cells here, evidence rooms.
Yeah, but there's show the photograph again. It's a masonry wall there.
No, he's saying it just runs up to the buildings. It runs from that building to the other building. Did I hear you correctly?
Yeah, so the fence is between the buildings.
Yeah,
No
it's
no
not, it
fence
doesn't
along.
run along.
There's no fence along the, oh,
Yeah,
okay, thank you.
yeah, yeah.
I misunderstood.
That's kind of. Okay, everybody,
And we have to keep the billboard, right?
The billboard stays unfortunately.
yeah.
I did have another question though, on the dumpster screening and the fence on the south side. The dumpster, would you want that?
Southeast corner. there we go.
Southeast, yes. Would you want that material to match the other fence, or could that be a black chain link fence with inside the parking lot with screening around it?
You have a fence inside the fence.
Well, it's a dumpster enclosure at the bottom right corner.
From my standpoint, I think it could be black chain link, but
It's fine.
If not, we can match the same perimeter, no climb fence, and put screening on it.
for me, that's fine.
Well, I think that, can you go back to the plan?
What are we talking about for screening? Did we address that too, by the way? Are you proposing screening then that goes up a certain height on this no climb fence?
Only on the dumpster enclosure.
Only on the dumpster?
Yes, the other fence, no, they want visibility through the fence for
Okay.
security.
Okay.
This is Steph. I just wanted to know, for dumpster locations, the guidelines, it states that dumpsters should be fully screened by use of an access gate and walls and fencing constructed of materials compatible with the primary building. So that's what the guidelines states there.
Is that what they're proposing here?
Without,
They're proposing chain link for the dumpster enclosure, so
Well, no,
y'all
he
have
just said
to
they could
consider
do.
if that's compatible with the
can
existing.
you go back to the plan?
He said, did I hear you?
We can match the other fence.
Right.
And then just put a screening fabric on.
I personally don't think the fabric is necessary if it's behind the fencing that you just showed us. I think,
And on the alley.
yeah, a simpler, and it's on an alley, a simpler solution is the best. Let's not invent a bunch of new materials here. I wouldn't do that, my opinion.
I agree.
Okay,
Just use the same things.
Same
Okay.
fence. Okay.
so you've heard the comments.
So can a trash truck get to that dumpster? You look at that.
Yep, we did a turning
Yeah.
exhibit. It can come in, lift it up from the front and get out.
Follows those arrows, huh? And then heads in and.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that was part of the reason we couldn't come from the back alley. The dump or the trash truck would have a really tight turn coming in. We'd have to set the fence back and they'd lose a lot of parking.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Anybody? Thoughts, anything from the audience? Okay, let's move on. We'll put you on focus for next, is it okay?
Yep.
For next one, okay.
We need a motion to table this or continue until next time.
Do we need a motion to continue?
Yes.
Okay, could I have a motion to continue, please?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I'm really concerned about this anti-ram barrier thing. With that.
Well, I'm concerned,
I've done
they're
those.
working on the building, so somebody, assumably they've got some kind of permit on it.
Well, they'll have to come before the commission for that. And
They're
yeah.
working on the building now, so the question is, well, hopefully.
Well, if they're working on the outside, they're not supposed to be.
That too.
So I expect that to come before you. But I'll keep tabs and.
You check.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so the next application, this is for graphics and landscaping. This is for 340 East Fulton Street. If we remember, that's that Elevate Affordable Housing. And this is located at the northwest corner of Grant Avenue and Fulton Street. I'm just gonna click on that location really quick. So remember, if you remember, highway is right here. This is Fulton. This is Grant, we have existing affordable housing here, and then this got torn down and it's gonna be new affordable housing, that multi-story building called Elevate. So, this is the site of the Elevate 340 apartment that is currently under construction. The applicant is seeking commission approval to install one illuminated wall sign over the building's primary entrance and another at the top of the building along Fulton Street. The applicant also intends to do some landscaping site modifications related to construction changes. The wall sign consists of flush-mounted LED face-lit channel letters, and submitted materials include a landscaping plan, elevations, renderings, and including the graphics and sign detail sheets. We look at that quickly, we can see one sign right here at the top corner. And then there's it in rendering again. And then this is that other sign. Oh, no, this is the other sign here at the entrance. Adam, can you remind me, these kind of check marks will not be on the awnings, correct? Okay, yeah, so we talked to the applicant, those will not be there, so the awnings will stay plain. And again, here we can see some more details about the sign and the address. And again, here. And then these, this is the landscape plan, just noting those landscape changes, which the applicant can speak to. And after review, the downtown design guidelines recommend that wall signs should be proportional to the building which it is attached to. The guidelines also state that signage should not obscure architectural elements of the building. And the guidelines further state that landscaping should be designed to complement the overall design, and the proposal is consistent with the design guidelines. Thank you.
Okay. Could you identify yourself? You are the applicant?
Yeah, David Blair with Shemtrock Architects.
Okay. Would you raise your right hand? Do you swear and affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you. Okay, and you're going to talk to us about both the sign and the landscaping today, is that correct?
Yes.
Good. Okay, let's go. What's the height on the sign, just for discussion?
So again, there's two, let's talk about this one, which is
Yeah.
really kind of responding to the southern view and the freeway.
Mhm.
So it really kind of, it's, the purpose there, respond to that higher speed and larger scale,
So
distance we're doing with. So it's really 4 feet. It's like 4.6 when you get to the very top of the.
And is it illuminated then?
It's illuminated.
Okay.
It's using, I think the colors are in the submittal you have, but that's where that one is kind of responding to there. You see the
Yeah.
yellow and the dark blue and navy with a white 340 for the address.
And do you have some way to kind of modulate the intensity of the light on that, or is that done, or is that submitted with the application?
It can be, yes. I don't have an illumination level of what that is currently. It would turn on and off with option of time clock or photo cell.
Okay,
So we have either option on both of those.
and tell us about the other sign then.
So that one again, is find the larger picture, the other sign is a wall mounted sign too.
Yeah.
It setbacks less than 2 feet really, so we had thought about pulling it out. It can be seen well down the street, even on that side. So we left as a wall mounted sign. Quite frankly, we're probably better visually and not having things sticking out, try to pull it out. So again, similar colors. That is, I think, there's to say 3 feet high, really, with the
Yeah.
2-foot letters above it. Again, using the same elements, same strokes, et cetera, at a smaller scale than the other sign. And it's just wall mounted, doesn't block any windows. et
Let's,
cetera. It's sits right on top of the little
Very good.
eyebrow.
Let's address this thing in two parts, and let's do signs first. Any thoughts on sign or signs?
I have just
Questions?
little comments on this sign, the one over the front door. So the V is a dark blue and the back panel is also a dark blue. So do you feel that that will show up, or do you think there should be a slight contrast?
Yeah, I think it's gonna show up. The dark blue in the back is probably not as dark as
Okay.
it's gonna show. I haven't had a feeling it's not gonna show. The blue is, it's a navy versus the blue behind it is,
Lighter?
it's definitely light.
And then
Yeah,
my-
it's a lot brighter to give it, yeah.
And then my other comment is, although I like where you have the 340 on this sign as well, I wonder that right at the pedestrian level, it's hard, there's no 340 or way to identify the number of the building. And I'm wondering if it would make sense to move that 340 down and put it maybe, I don't know, closer to the pedestrian.
Or just put a
Or
smaller,
just put an address.
put a smaller one there by the door. and address.
Well, there is the standard dress signs that are on the windows above 5. I mean, I'm not talking anything aesthetic.
The
I'm
entry you
talking-
made?
I'm talking your,
At the entry.
your
Yeah.
4-6 inch letter
But that's what
signs.
she's talking.
That will be there.
Okay.
Yeah, that will be there on the doors.
Okay, good. Other comments? I think I don't think you need to remove the 340 up above.
No.
But I do think it's a great idea to have one on the door.
Yeah, we will have one right on the transfer
Perfect.
door.
Okay.
Yes.
Other questions or comments? Thinking about the signage? Okay, why don't we move on and let's look at the landscaping then? And we'll ask for some kind of a motion to approve the whole package. But let's look next at the landscape, if we get there. Okay,
And Doug, if I'm wrong, I think we had submitted the landscaping before. I don't know if we had an approval or not. If we have not, that's fine. I'm willing to talk through the whole thing.
Landscaping was included with the original
Yeah.
approval, but I think there are some.
We had,
changes
submitting it because
there.
we made some changes. I just.
did you do any changes or anything since, from the original proposal?
Up, went and out.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
What did
It's
you-
what's bubbled up here and the north side is very simple. I'll go to the north side just to recover that. We had a transformer that was sitting up there.
Okay,
The transformer is now in a vault, so we're just infilling it with the same planting that was there before to complete that and not have a void. So that was pretty simple. And those just kind of shrubs that are varying in scale, which kind of work back. Down below, to the left on the west side, what we wanted to do is really in the back, we had not had kind of a, really it was an emergency walkway or way to get out of that back parking area. Other than coming back to the building, for emergency, we didn't want that. So really, we just took the gate, there's a fence and gate in the back. That's a black picket. That was moved out a little further. We moved it back, kind of aligned it with the building element and created a pathway out, which is a, you know, a fine, I call it gold dust gravel that comes out, and then just created a little more creation of border along the building with the trees and to the left and the shrub at the end.
So there's
Trying not to encourage people to go back that way, but we need to create that alley, kind of access point out of the back.
And so you're saying that's not a green, on the ground, it's a gravel?
It's a gravel, yeah.
Okay.
It needed to have
which-
some accessibility,
then you have,
so you could run up,
tree-
so it's
trees
compacted
planted.
gravel.
In that area then?
Yeah.
Okay. How far do you run right up to that?
It's about, so off the other buildings, fence and masonry there,
That wall,
or like 11 feet off, so there's,
the building
yeah.
is 11,
our building's about 11 feet off, so we just have room for.
but the property runs up right
The
up.
property runs right up to it.
Thoughts or comments on that?
I have two comments. So when you're looking at where that pathway is from the south running north and the gate to get in, and that, I guess that's a secured gate to get in.
Correct.
Do you have any concerns about where it is open? You know, it's landscaped and, you know, somebody maybe, you know, for security reasons, somebody going, you know, hiding out before you get to that gate, because it is open to the public, but also landscaped, so it, you know, the person wouldn't be visible. So I'm just wondering if you're coming as a pedestrian and you're walking out, you have that span that's not secure. So it's just something, I don't know if you've thought of that or if you feel it's a concern.
The owner wasn't too concerned about it.
Is the
Really,
parking
all
lot
the way out,
secured
getting
on the other side?
Wall to them,
Yeah.
sorry, there's not a walkway out the other side.
But you drive in there, right?
You drive in under the building.
Under the building.
Correct.
But is there a gate on that?
There it is, yeah.
Oh, there is. Okay.
Yes, there's
So that's gated.
overhead doors at the exterior. Yeah, you exit right where Bill says the
Yeah.
thing, and you come in off of full. And both of those have a overhead door of one style or another.
And my other comment is this new area where there used to be I think you said the transformer, where now
Yeah.
you've infilled it, which is very nice. Is there, and it looks like there's a door out to that area. Is that door?
No, that's an interior door,
It's an interior
storage
door.
spaces. Yeah,
So
it's
that's.
right there is what you're thinking.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, there's storage spaces, bike storage and another storage space.
So there's really no access to
No,
that area.
and we're not trying to, yeah, we're trying to.
And then on the northwest corner where you have that infill, that's aggregate. It looks like where you have the round, or not the round area on the other.
There's an aggregate there, not a.
You mean northwest of the
Northwest.
entire parking lot?
Yes,
Yeah.
right there. Aggregate.
Yeah.
And do you have cut sheets for I think there were two things, benches and planters.
We submitted them prior, yes,
Okay,
We
with
did.
the original project.
correct, yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Questions, comments? Anything from the audience?
I would just, does staff think that this parking screening is compliant? Any questions about that? Is it meeting the intent?
Yeah, what is this screening again, if we could see that? Is that shown on there somewhere?
I know the
It's
park-
6-foot fence and
Oh, yeah,
stone on the ground and some,
yeah, I do know that the fencing was reviewed originally and staff thought that it was consistent the first go around, and that has already been approved by the commission.
I suppose that's black painted, is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
6-foot black. Okay. Other questions, comments? What's the pleasure of the group? Okay, there's a Meaning, monument.
Second.
Second, okay. Okay, it's motions on the floor. Again, questions or comments? Anybody? Yes, go ahead.
I just had one. Is there on the north perimeter, is there a reason why the trees stop? You know, you have the 5 trees and then there's a gap there?
There's nothing that was there previously.
These are new trees and then
Those are new.
those are new trees.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, other questions? There is a motion on the
Would we
floor.
fill that gap in then with trees?
That could be a request.
We could add
Yeah,
some
I'm
two
just
trees in there.
curious.
Yeah, I'm trying to think in the pictures if there's an existing tree on that other side. There's a reason we didn't do it. You couldn't tell from there. I know there's a couple we had to remove. Yeah. Could be that tree back there, but I doubt it. I don't think we'll be opposed to, I mean, you can put it in. If we see a problem, we'll get back to staff.
Okay, does that sound good? So the motion would be amended to provide that 2 trees would be, or does it look like 2 or 3 or whatever?
I think, what do you think?
Two.
What do you want to do?
Yeah.
Let's pick a number. Two trees would be added there along the north side of the
Yeah.
park. Okay, and then both the maker of the motion and the seconder approve that amendment to it? Okay. Okay, very good. I'm going to ask for a vote unless anybody has another comment or question. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Eight. All right, so this is for 330 Rush Alley. Just gonna move over to it. So again, this is in the Peninsula neighborhood, all new construction. This building is up already and they're just looking for graphics for it. So this is located in the peninsula between Bell Street and Highwater Alley. The applicant is seeking commission approval to install flush-mounted illuminated channel letters on the building's east facade. The channel letters consist of 5-inch deep white returns with acrylic bases with 1-inch white trim cap. The letters are to be illuminated in white LED. Submitted materials include renderings, elevation, site details, and sign mounting details. And just quickly, this is what it is. It's a blade sign right here along the main facade. Oh, this was already provided. Thanks, Adam. I'm just on back getting notes here. Oh, so it's this one up above
It's the next page. Sorry.
in the corner.
Yep.
This one. That makes sense. Okay, so this is the sign we're talking about here. And then the details for that sign. So yeah, so this is more like a tower corporate sign. And then after review, the downtown design guidelines state that tower signs should be in proportional to building height and mass as well as compatible with the building architecture. And it is consistent with those guidelines. So again, we're just focusing on the top sign and it seems like this was already approved by staff. Thank you.
Very good. Mark, could you identify yourself for the record, please?
Yes, sir. Mark Hours, Mode Architects.
Do you swear and affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So
I do.
say I do.
I do, thank you.
Good. Okay, let's go. Anything you want to tell us about it, or is it pretty much
It's
self-explanatory?
pretty self-explanatory. We're adding a 3rd sign that matches the other 2 that are there. This is the last anchor tenant in this building.
So that would, the anticipation is that'd be the last sign
Correct.
up high on the building. Is
That's
that
correct,
right?
unless tenants move out. Yes, they're
And
only, they're only.
in which
2
case it'd be a switch out.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Questions, comments?
It's good.
I just had a quick question.
Okay, go ahead.
It looks like the shape of the sign, it is actually round because on the rendering it looks elliptical. Is that?
Yeah,
just the-
it's foreshortened in that perspective. Their logo is round.
And then the other question is, you know, there are 2 other signs that are also white and very similar. So at night, when they're illuminated, are they all going to be like the same color temperature?
Correct. They are all the same color temperature. They're all being done by the same vendor.
Oh, that's great. Thank
So do you have a number for that color temperature then?
If it's not on the specs, I don't know it off the top of my head.
So how do we know if we're gonna approve this? How do we know what it is so it's not too bright?
Well, it's on there. If you look at the bottom,
Oh, it is, okay.
scroll again, the title line. Oh, no, maybe not. I saw the year. I thought that was the temperature. I apologize.
Can we get
I
that?
can follow up with
Can you
staff on
do
that.
that?
if That's important to you.
I think it is. We just have to begin to know that, I think. Okay, other questions or comments? Okay, anything from the audience? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
I don't think we have a motion.
Oh, we don't have a,
Motion to approve, that's the bid.
Second,
okay, there's a motion and a second. Okay.
it's likely to pass though.
Yes. That's good.
Well, I don't know. Let's go back to the, okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay,
Thanks for your time this
and an
morning.
abstention. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Next. Well, I heard one paying attention on
That's
that.
good. It's like, is this?
Yeah, I wanted to make sure you guys.
Yeah, I can see, there you go, this one through.
And Falcons.
I can see the sun from over there. Right.
Yes.
It's not that bright,
Which one?
it's for the next edge,
Yeah, okay.
so it's right there.
So I'm starting that with it on bonus, was repeating himself in this case. This is for 317 West Street, West State Street.
If it had been.
Which is located on the vacant block bounded by West Broad Street, South Bell Street, West Capitol Street, and Starling Street. So it's in that peninsula neighborhood. And this is currently a vacant block that's gonna be infilled. The applicant is seeking permission approval for a 10+ story mixed use building. It includes a ground level grocery store and parking. There's an additional 3 levels of podium parking above, topped by 10 levels of residential units and amenity space. This project was last before the commission at the October 2024 meeting, where the commission gave conceptual feedback on the building. During the initial hearing, the commissioners offered support for the project and applauded the use of color throughout the aluminum bat and parking garage screening system at the southwest corner of Broad and Bell. Commissioners also questioned if there is an opportunity to give the Broad and Bell Street corner of the building more prominence through variation of material and requested the same thing along the rest of the Broad Street frontage. The applicant has since submitted an updated packet consisting of design tweaks to the building, a list of overall changes since the previous hearing, and updated building materials. Submitted materials include a site plan, facade design, massing, floor plans, elevation, sections, rendering, and material specifications and cut sheets. And I won't go through the whole thing, but again, we have like context imagery here, site plan. This is Broad, this is Bell. Some updated massing diagrams, elevations, floor plans. So I'll have the applicant go through all of it, but again, this is kind of what was seen in October, but so this is the gist of it, but I'll let that go through all the drawings. The downtown design guidelines recommend commercial ground floor uses and the tallest buildings along the Broad Street corridor. They also call for high quality durable materials, lighting that minimizes light spill, transparent and clear storefronts, and rooftop structures that are complementary to the primary building. The guidelines note that structured parking is preferred, though that the exterior design should minimize the monotony of its underlying structure system through wall mass and window openings and variation in color, material, and/or texture. Staff notes that the applicant plans to return with exterior lighting and landscaping plans at a future date, and the proposal is generally consistent with the downtown design guidelines. And again, this is for action, so we'll vote. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Could you identify yourselves for the record, please?
Sure, I'm Mike Suriano with MBBJ.
And Daniel Ayers with MBBJ.
Great. Could you raise your right hands? Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So say I do.
I do.
Thank you very much. Why don't you go ahead and kind of just do a walkthrough? This is obviously a major project.
Sure.
We have seen it before, so.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, so a couple of the things I know that staff had also asked is to kind of identify the things that have changed from the concept to the current design. In the concept phase, the residential facades weren't ready to present, and so that is probably one of the largest changes as the residential facades have been developed, and you can see the details, and we have the materials here to review with you today. I'll have Mike go through the overall design, but our goal here is, to create 250 residential units in downtown with the Scioto Peninsula continue to grow, finish out that empty parcel along Broad Street, which I think is very important. The added grocer at the base, I think, is important for the city. So we see this project as a great opportunity to really solidify the peninsula as a destination by creating more living opportunities along with the parking to support it, along and with the grocer. So activated ground plane really, I think, is a great opportunity for downtown. I'll let Mike go through the overall design and concept, trying to wrap the whole project into one cohesive approach.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Thanks, everybody. Belkis, I think, did a great job of kind of highlighting the high points. Dan was noting some of the changes, but generally, we tried to break the content into how the project's contextualized, how it's organized, and the overall kind of building expression. We start by kind of looking at our neighbors. We actually just saw the signage that Mode presented on our neighboring building to the south, Cross Capitol. We trying to understand the different disposition for the project as well as how it's sited. On the next slide is really kind of trying to understand environmentally what we're looking at, as well as view corridors relative to the balance of the master plan of the peninsula. And so, highlighting that in that bottom left image, the kind of more prominent corner at Bell and Broad, as well as potentially the ability to kind of identify this axis that kind of works its way through the peninsula in that dotted blue line. We don't need to necessarily focus on landscape and site plan, as I know we're coming back for that, but generally speaking, there's an entrance plaza off of Broad for the grocer, loading zone off of Bell. Our entrance to the residential is off of the south, off of High Water Alley, and parking garage entry off of the Starling on the west. And then we can kind of cycle through. Let's stay on this for a minute. So when we were looking at this initially, we were trying to identify some different ways of attenuating a very long facade on Broad Street. And one of the things that we wanted to do was really differentiate some materials along that facade. So we weren't just looking at this kind of long unattenuated bar. So we've turned the massing that approaches Bell and High Water as a way to kind of terminate that axis and kind of really address entry as we come down High Water. The other thing that does is give us the ability to put some material on Broad Street that really helps to work with the garage and the materiality of the garage, so that those two things kind of lock together. The other thing that we did, I think that's important from a massing standpoint, is we've kind of articulated the width of the unit in the residential bar, so that rather than getting that full 66 foot, 60 to 70 foot width, we're really breaking that into smaller, more linear components. So as you look at it, the proportion's a little bit better. You can go through the next slide. This gives you an idea of kind of the general stacking for the project. You can see what I just highlighted previously, which is our entries, parking entrances, main entrances for the residential and grocer, as well as the parking decks and the residential floors above. Two points here. One thing that we also have done is justify the residential more towards the north side or the Broad side, so that we get some nice outdoor amenity spaces on top of the deck, south facing, which is much more preferable in our climate hemisphere. We can cycle through. These are more planned, kind of more detailed plans around the garage layout, brochure, and ingress and egress for the podium.
And those have not changed since the last submission for the concept. Overall planning is the same.
And then as you get to the residential, you can start to see some the way that we're treating amenity, and especially on that south leg approaching high water, and how that feeds both the west and the east amenity decks, and then the balance of the residential to the north. And then as we get up into the typical levels, you can start to see the breakdown of unit and the way those apartments start to be attenuated. And then the upper floor, we are looking at a kind of a unit on the upper that kind of is more premium and differentiated. So that pops above the roof plane of the piece on the left there. As far as building expression goes, we talked a little bit about that diagram, but just to highlight some major materials, we're looking at a kind of panelized facade for that starts to have some warmer materials, starts to bring in a little bit of color, but neutral in a way that's kind of sensitive to the environment and kind of where we are contextually. Pretty standard materials, starting to look at aluminum window systems, aluminum battens on the garage, masonry materials, brick, lower brick, glass, and different elements that help us to kind of detail and really bring some texture to the upper and lower components of the project. And then the elevations kind of highlight those two distinct zones. You can see this kind of brick framed condition that starts to pull in a little bit of the kind of proportions that we see in the warehouse or in some of the warehouses in Franklinton, as well as this kind of raked residential facade on the left, and the way those start to work with the garage below. And Dan's got some materials and kind of brick tones that we're kind of exploring right now. These kind of just highlight the different sides of the project. You can see, I'll go to if you go to the Capitol Street elevation, you can see how we are bringing down one of those bars to grade to help highlight the entry and terminus for high water. So you can see that residential entry right at the kind of end of the alley. So that really is a marker for pulling people up and down the street. General building section, and then we get into renderings where you can see the balance of the project. And again, you start to see the layering of those decks. So we're really trying to make this and highlight the proportions of the project in a positive way that creates outdoor space. It creates balconies on those end conditions where we've got really some spectacular views of downtown and the river, as well as those amenity decks. This is the eye level at Broad and Bell, so you can start to see the way the upper residential bars start to engage the podium below, and then the way that the garage is screened with those battens, as well as the storefront glazing for the grocer. This is one view that's a little bit tough to capture as you're coming under the tracks, but you can kind of see from parking across the street that Starling and Broad corner, which is more prominent with the brick component of the project. And then as we move up, this is more of a semi-aerial of the parking deck, or of the parking deck and the amenity deck, as well as some of those residential balconies. And then panning down to Bell and Capitol, where we've got kind of an attenuated stair tower with glazing and that entry for loading. And then the final couple images here are really that walk down high water alley where you start to see those two, both the podium and the residential, come together, and then kind of terminate into a residential entry at the end of the alley. This was really intended to kind of continue that vertical, those vertical pieces of the residential on its way down to grade. So something that drew your eye that way. And then some basic descriptors of when materials are distributed, and then getting into some of the details around the garage and different types of expression. So these are really more things that you know, are more at a detail level, but start to highlight materials and different ways that we're treating the two systems.
I just have one question.
Yeah.
You know, particularly from a traffic pattern standpoint, understanding that bus rapid transit from Lincoln is going to be coming right down Broad Street and Bell and Broad, maybe a potential opportunity for a stop. Have you made that a consideration, particularly as you're looking at the grocery store being right on Broad Street?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the main entry of the grocer is centered on Broad Street, with activation opportunities on the corner for outdoor dining. It is the final location for that, I think, is really about the opportunity of capturing that traffic. The residential entry, though, based on how all it works, it's really, we prioritize the grocer
But
on
when you
that.
think about this, a dedicated lane that's going to be for buses, and it's going to be in close proximity to your entrance. I'm just saying, have you thought about that as you are looking at, and I'm looking at also your garage entry on Bell?
That's loading dock entry on
Loading
Bell.
dock?
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
I'm just looking at
How all of it's working.
how all it's gonna go work together. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It's complicated from that
People go to the
side.
grocery store park.
What's that?
Where do people go to the grocery store? If they're not living there, where do they park?
They're on the second floor. So the second floor is dedicated for, and you'll see there's two dedicated elevators to the north side, which then drops them down to the main entry of the grocery store.
Okay, great.
And so there'll be oversized elevators. They'll have room for, and then we have cart storage and other things on those levels.
I have a question about the aluminum fins that you're using at the parking level. So, well, first, before I say that, I just want to say there's so many details and so many materials on this project that are just beautiful and delightful and used in such a creative way. And it's just really inspiring what you've done. But I wanted to mention with these aluminum fins, I know originally you had something that was much more dynamic with color, but I definitely see that this is a very good approach too. You know, there's an elegance to it. But I think that how you detail it will be very important, because here on the rendering, it's interesting because it's reflecting the light. It has some kind of a warmth. You can see the concrete guardrail, you know, crash rail behind it. And I think you were also talking about delineating them in segments. So I'm just thinking, like, to make sure that whatever you do here, because it's such a prominent part of the design, that you pay attention to the detailing and how you can accentuate it a little bit, you know, still keep it subtle and elegant, but make that also a contributory design element. And you spoke about the railroad car is the inspiration. So maybe somehow, you know, it's broken up a little bit and it has a pattern like a railroad car or something. So just something to think about, because it's a little different than the other original concept, but also a design opportunity.
For sure. Yeah, and I think the intent with those battens is really to, because I think you're picking up on some of the things that we were intending to do, is to kind of make this not so much a, you know, we wanted to keep it elegant. We wanted to keep it somewhat neutral in terms of the materiality, so that it did have it has a relationship and a warmth that the taller component of the residential has, but it does have that kind of vertical orientation, so that when you're oblique to the building, it screens, you know, what's happening, but we're still meeting our open air requirements for the garage. So completely hear you with regard to the way that it's detailed. It will have some dimension to it, so depending on the size of those battens, you know, so, you know,
I think there's 6-inch battens
Yeah.
currently, 6-inch by an inch. And so there might be an opportunity of even just leaving on a regular repetition, 1 out or 2 out, that allows it to have a little bit of that articulation.
What color is it and what is the finish?
Yeah, we're looking at some, at really almost like a warmer, red kind of zinc tone. It's hard to kind of, but it's, yeah.
Yeah.
That's like the glossy pin or
This is a little bit more matte than a glossy, but it does give it a
little sheet.
little sheen to it, yes.
And I wanted to ask you, like you have in the packet expression A and B. Is that just, are you just talking about the different materials or are they different options?
They're different materials, so the basically the north, the piece that engages Broad Street directly is a brick.
Go to the color axons, there's
Yeah.
4 of them, right? I think
Yeah.
maybe just after this, before the materials, there we go.
Yeah,
So the green is the brick palette, is that B? I may have got
Yeah,
that.
I think
And the
that's-
blue is the palette A, so it's just those two within the taller tab.
And then you have option one, I think it was option 1, 2, and 3, and I think it was for the pre-finished facade panel.
Yes.
So it's 3 different materials you're considering?
We were, and just understanding price as we're going through the pricing on this, we were looking at 3 different options within that. We're moving forward with that material as being the EFS on, which will be the blue portion of the upper residential only. And so the other option was a metal panel, and then we had a third option of a tactile panel, which is what we used on the Gravity project, Gravity 2 tower next door. So
And the last question, are the balconies all glass or are some of them with the pickets, with the metal pickets?
the brick has the pickets, and then the blue portion would have the glass.
Yep.
Thank you.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on.
It's a big building.
I'm curious a little bit about the, where you have the pool back there. You have just one pool, right, on the south,
Correct.
east corner. Does that get sunlight?
It does.
Swimming hours?
Given its distance off of the office building to the south, they
How
get
much taller is the one to the south then?
south is 8 floors. They're a little taller floor to floor because of its office, but our first 4 floors are 11. So we're at 44 feet. I'd anticipate it's about 96 for the office. So we're about halfway up, and we're pulled back from them. Our initial solar studies, which we did not provide, but I don't believe we're going to get too much sun. In the winter, it will be shaded a bit from the office building.
But you think in the summer you will have sun?
Yes, sun's going to be very
Now,
high.
by the way, you have a building structure, you have a structure just to the west of the pool. There too.
Yeah, so end of day, you will start to get some shading from that bar. It will impact it by the end of the day.
But the pool is located sort of as far,
Further.
far east and,
Yep.
and south,
Okay.
to kind of maximize that time during the day.
And we'll be coming back with that layout and overall design for that landscape and the ground floor landscape for review.
I do appreciate the overall articulation. It's very like detailed and thought through. I really like the moment at the end of the alley where you like bring down the tower and it's just that, pinnacle to kind of draw your eye. So I do like that move as well.
I think, could you just walk through real quick what all these materials are? And the reason I'm kind of going to ask you to do that is I've heard you say about 3 or 4 times, where we're thinking about and what we're thinking about and the direction we're heading and all that kind of stuff. And what I'd like to do here, when we approve something, we need to approve something.
Yep.
If you guys want to come back and tweak it later, that's something we can work on. But I think when you walk out of here, we don't want to have, we're looking at 3 options kind of thing, because that doesn't work very well for us.
Yeah, and at the time of submitting, we were still going through some of the pricing. So today we can give you the exact. These are
Why
the
don't we
materials.
do that? We don't just kind of scroll through those pretty quick. We don't need to spend a vast amount of time. I agree. I like the design. It seems very exciting.
Yeah, let's
Great.
start, I think we can maybe go to one of the renderings, the first rendering from Bell and Broad.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You want to start with the brick?
Yeah, so the
base?
brick garage really is primarily kind of a velour, black velour, charcoal gray velour that has a kind of high.
And is that what we're seeing on the van that runs around the
Yes.
top of the garage?
Yep, yep.
Okay.
And then,
And then the piers down at the base.
yeah, and then that really,
Those are also brick, okay?
Yeah, storefront and
And what's the reddish thing then?
black. And then that would be the battens that you all.
Yeah, that's that color and then glass.
Yeah.
So the solid is the aluminum, that would be the aluminum frames on the glass, and the perforated is, I forgot where the perforated is. We have different screening. Oh, it's on the
Yeah,
other
it's on
side.
the other side.
Yeah, we don't have it in this view for the perforated.
Does this brick, this dark brick
Yep,
that's above the garage, when it's installed, that will have that type of a look where you have some type of, you have like a variety of colors?
yes.
Yeah, it has a sheen to it, so if you, yeah. And
Yeah, and
when
there'll be
it
a
hits
slight-
sunlight, it definitely has a,
And what mortar do you use then on that?
So in this case, we're going with
use a darker.
a darker mortar so that it doesn't create just that, too many of the lines to it.
Yeah.
A good example of this, Mike, we've used in town.
It would be, we used a black velour on, north side of on High Street. You all just.
And then that's the
Yeah.
same that goes up the tower, on the residential side.
Yeah.
So it's the same brick on the base and up on the tower, but we introduced then a second brick, on the, north side, elevation. There's two different brick
And
nodes.
where does the tinted glass go?
So that glass is clear, that's all residential. The retail will be, more clear,
Oh,
less.
the one I saw was tinted, I believe. Is that?
It's got a low E coating on it.
But it's clear glass.
It
Yes.
will
Okay,
perceive.
I'm sorry. I get
Yes,
you.
correct, correct.
And that is not a glazed brick, well,
No, that
That
is,
one's not.
it's just a high iron brick so that
Yeah.
it gets has a little bit of life to it.
okay.
Yeah, and so that, it's more in the detail on that end bar, as it goes up, it's the two different bricks, which is hard to read. In this view, it's probably easier. I think we have a,
Yeah, we have like a straight on shot.
Straight on
where we can see
elevation.
the upper.
Now, where is that? See, turn back to that one, Velka. Where is that view? I don't understand that view.
That's the residential.
that's the residential,
East.
yeah, so we're in the
You're
elevation.
coming from the building to the south of you, looking down the, okay. I'm
Yeah, the
sorry.
new residential.
That's-
to the
that's
left that you
looking
guys
north.
just-
The thing on the right, the thing on the left is not your building.
Right.
And you said that thing about using.
It's confusing me
EVs
too.
Yeah.
On the residential above.
But is it, EV's gonna come all the way down to grade?
In this location, it would. This would be the only spot that it would end up coming down. We could look at a way to stop it above, of course, above
think you
grade.
could.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can't get it down too close, just from a durability side,
I
for sure.
think that makes sense too.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the ephes, is that what you're? Yeah.
Yes,
And where is that? Just those vertical pieces? that
just
go
the
down
vertical
off
pieces
your-
coming down. Yeah, that's
So
the
you
only
would just
place.
go up a floor or two or wherever it is?
Yeah, we just have to
Put
look.
something else in there.
Yep.
You
Okay.
can see, I think in that image, if we go to the next one, where that you can start to see some of the perforation.
Where
that-
did you say the perforated metal is?
It's in this view, so see where the two is on
Yeah.
the signage, it's immediately above that, so it's basically the infill
Oh.
for the,
Yeah, it's probably a
between
little,
those.
then there's a little
Parking
larger
garage.
holes in what we're proposing. but
Okay.
Yeah,
And the ephes will have that pattern, that vertical.
We are looking at some kind of vertical pattern that we can, kind of,
And is that your
This-
signage or are you going to have signage or
we'll come back for all the
come back
signage
and
review.
come back
Yep.
with landscaping?
Landscaping and lighting.
Okay, great.
Yep.
I'm sorry I interrupted you. Go ahead. You're
No, no,
showing us
this
pictures.
this is a different panel type, but the idea is a vertical line to it, in the ephes or, even, well, the metal would be a little bit more smooth, but our proposal is to use ephes, and have a little bit of a vertical stripe to it, so it's not too flat.
And on the exterior balcony areas, is that, is it glass or is it, what's there?
If you keep going, I think we have our detail, yeah. So the inset on all the balconies, so all the balconies are inset, so none are out forward. And those inside returns will be, on the brick, will probably end up as ephes, infill inside, but color to be close to the brick. And then on the ephes section would be ephes returns. On
And
the
then
side.
you're using as it's shown, the stacking bond instead of the running bond for all of your brick, for some of the brickwork.
we're using a stacked bond.
Stacked on
Correct.
everything, yeah.
And it looks very well.
And that's the best view to see those two different colors of brick as they come together.
Okay. Questions, comments?
What is the material? I think it's a black, I think it's the northwest corner. There's, black
That's the stair.
here that goes all
Or
the
that
way
goes
up.
up.
And and then you have the, balconies. What is the material, the black material there?
That's a black, right now we're showing a black metal panel, with
Black metal panel?
with an aluminum
Which
picket
would
rail.
be, yeah, I think it's the same as, this is a slightly different. One market piece. It's a little bit more flat, not too reflective, versus the other black, which is for the mullions.
Do you think that that will be dark for the balconies, or you don't have a concern, you don't think it will be too dark on the balconies?
Right now, that's our stair tower. I don't necessarily think it'll be too dark. I think we want to kind of.
Is that in
something
brick?
Super
That'll be the
reflective.
brick
The black is,
material?
Metal panel.
black is a metal panel.
The stair tower?
Stair tile will be in probably is either CMU or cast in place concrete behind that. So the structure behind isn't a residential unit. It's all just the exit stair.
Okay.
I think it adds a nice sophisticated contrast to the rest of the building. Like the dark.
Okay.
I think this is a really interesting building on a really prominent site. I would suggest that there are so many materials that you could have saved a couple of those for the next project. It's just, it's a little busy in that regard, but I think that it's a really nice building and it would be a great addition to the city.
It looked like at that northwest area where you have the dark panel, the metal panel, right there on the bottom, I think in the packet, it explained that you put a little landscaping there. Is that correct? There was like a little landscape corner?
We need to finish the landscape design on that. And how, I mean, it's mainly an egress stair coming out from there.
So
So
there's a doorway.
there's a doorway coming out, but outside of that,
Yeah, it looked like on the plan, there was some type of, right there.
just a
And,
little.
and we have punctuated the site. You can see in some of the renderings, again, we need to come back for landscape, but with street planters, as well as some places for trees.
And then on Bell, when you talk about the sidewalk activation space, is that mainly the site furnishings or special pavement or?
It's part of the development working with the grocer.
Okay.
They're still working through that side of it.
Is the grocery a done deal?
We are waiting on signed lease to announce.
Okay.
I'm thinking about that northeast corner.
Yeah.
Since,
Yeah, that's
So
right.
could we have her name and affiliation and sorry, quickly swear her in? Amy Taylor, town president, downtown Columbus Inc.
Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, Amy?
I do.
I do. Thank you.
You didn't qualify what she already said, though.
Yeah. We got it. I kind of trust her anyway. I was just, we talked about color right up in front. Somebody mentioned the C word up front, and I was thinking it'd be fun if there were a little bang on that northeast corner somewhere for the grocery store. And I don't know how you do it. I'm not telling, and that could be a comeback with it, almost a signage kind of thing.
Could be.
But when you walk down, when you drive down, when you're looking down, you see this little thing that it could be lighting, it could be color, it could be something, but this is a big deal. It could be exciting.
Yeah.
And,
Like there's something happening.
yeah, you've got the bones are there, so you can tweak that. Just a thought. I don't think that needs to have anything to do with what we're approving today. Now, let's talk about what we can do. Can we approve this today or are these open questions or can we approve with what we've got here with all this stuff? Are you guys set with it? Because I hear you saying we're looking at this and we're looking at that.
Unfortunately, with the way the market is today, I would love to say, we're 100%, what we're presenting today is what we're moving forward with.
Okay,
I can't-
and we
if
can
we
approve,
have to change.
so
we'll
we
come back.
could, so we could approve that. And then
Yes,
again,
you can
if you
approve
guys
that.
want to come back,
Yes,
yeah, you guys have been here enough that you know how we operate. And we're
Right.
happy to take looks at things, and we understand this is a big project.
Right.
So as it proceeds, guess what? Occasionally things get
Stuff happens.
modified and tweaked and so on. And we're very much open to that, particularly because we know when you come back, it's going to be an improvement.
right, right.
So where do we want to go here? What's the pleasure of this group here right now?
We're ready to move approval on what you've seen based
Okay.
on the materials that are presented
Okay, good.
and subject to coming back with
Great.
the lighting and landscaping and signage.
Can we assume that that is a motion on
Yes.
their part?
Yeah.
And can we have a second?
Second,
Okay, thank you. Questions, comments? Anything from the audience? Anybody else here? I mean, I think we've talked about, I think it looks wonderful. It's exciting. So, and frankly, I'll look forward to seeing you come back as this thing evolves a little bit too. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm gonna grab the materials. That's right.
This is neat, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Yeah.
One of us. Good. Thank you, everybody. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
All right, so we are now at 311 West Long Street. And just to look at this on the map, this is the North Bank Park Pavilion. That's what we're talking about today. And specifically, we're talking about the outdoor area. So this sort of plaza space, and then also this fountain water feature. So that's what we're talking about today. So this is located at the North Bank Pavilion at North Bank Park. The applicant is seeking commission approval to remove the existing splash pad or water feature and replace the pavers to match existing as a means to create a larger ceremony area and to include a 10-foot, 9 and 5/8 inch, very specific, tall, black powder coated steel fixed archway. The existing stone benches will be relocated to the lounging grove per the submitted drawings. And the submission includes site context photos, demolition plan, site plans, archway, and brick specifications. Is Mr. Lovers the tree?
he's gonna come right back.
Okay, so he's
We'll
not.
just take-
Okay, cool.
No, he's not. Okay.
Okay. And so just to quickly look at the materials here, this is the area that's being focused on. Some existing photos here. Fountain will be removed. And really, I just want to get to a rendering of what it will be. So this is what we want at the end with this metal archway here. The downtown design guidelines recommend that landscaping, plazas, and public art that continue to enhance and energize the downtown built environment. The guidelines encourage mature tree preservation and the use of high-quality materials and landscaping, and the proposal is consistent with these guidelines. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Could you identify yourselves for the record, please?
Seth Trance, Lattice Studio, architect for the project.
Thank you.
Christopher Scannell, Design and Construction Manager, Columbus Recreation and Parks.
Great. Could you raise your right hands? Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you. Okay. Everybody's seen the package. I'm just trying to say, do you want anything you want to walk through particularly? It's pretty self-explanatory, I think, what we saw, or at least what I saw when we looked at it. Obviously, the chairs there are showing how it can be used. They won't be there. It'll be the brick pavers.
Correct. Yeah.
Any questions on this or comments?
I do.
Yeah, go.
I know that the splash park is used quite a bit over there. Do you have any, and I know the other one is over on Bicentennial. So Is there any thought of replacing it in this area?
Yeah, let me give the kind of the high level concept for this project, where it came about and how we settled on what we wanted to do here. And then Seth, as our architect, is kind of the detailed design aspects of things. The North Bank Pavilion was built some time ago, so this project is really twofold. There's some interior improvements that are getting at full MEP replacements for aging equipment and some interior finishes upgrades, things like that, to better serve the public. We rolled into it this exterior aspect of things. The fountain, the original manufacturer has been out of business, I believe, for some time. We've had a lot of maintenance issues, struggle keeping it clean, and staffing issues. So rather than a full-on replacement, given that we did just finish upgrading the bicentennial fountain, we wanted to reorient this facility towards its prime, really what it gets used for a lot for us as a rental facility is weddings. And over the years, a lot of the feedback we've gotten from the public that books these for weddings just about every day, May through November, is the difficulty in this area with positioning and holding a ceremony. So we did want to provide back to the community some sort of feature and alternative. There's originally thoughts about adding a fireplace or some larger decorative element to the backside of the property, more back towards where the trees are. But when we started talking about public art and something of that scale, I thought we're going to save the space, but just given our timeline for getting in there over the winter when we're not booked, we'll come back and address that at another time. But in the meantime, we do want to do some nice landscaping architects features that Seth can talk a little bit more to. So at this point, that it's really just removing the fountain with the hopes of bringing back some more public art and interactive elements, but not necessarily a water feature, as we do have the bicentennial fountain nearby.
Other questions or comments?
I was wondering the arch and then the lounging, what is it called? Lounging grove.
Lounging grove.
Are they lit at all? Because I think that new arch and also maybe the trees in the lounging grove, there might be an opportunity to illuminate those at night and then really, define that space.
There is some surface lights in that area already. We are not proposing any new lighting for those spaces. We are allowing for electricity at the new archway, or bringing that to that in an effort to potentially illuminate it, whether it be full-time or per event, so people can customize it as needed, put stuff on it, et cetera, for their event. But in terms of the back area where the current trees are, is there lighting there now?
I'm trying to think if there is ground lighting, I think.
There is lighting around the actual pavilion on that brick wall on the left side that's existing, and that's being replaced. It's part of this project, just not one for one fluorescent for new LED, because those are just in bad shape. So that will be added. But we did not include lighting for that grove in addition to what's already in there.
And then I just had two comments about the benches. So you have the benches on this, the perimeter aisleway, the existing benches.
Yes.
But I'm also wondering, with how you are showing the seating, I'm sure you can move that a little bit, because just the seating capacity, because it looks like you want to maintain enough space for the aisleway because you have those existing benches on that outer aisle.
You're talking about the black benches along the bottom of this plan.
Yeah.
Those are embedded and they're actually in pretty good shape. We didn't necessarily want to move those. Even if we did, it wouldn't be part of the aisle because that's also in the same line where the existing lighting is. We are removing garbage cans from that edge just to kind of keep that from being any sort of dumping of trash there. So there's 3 or 4 that are being removed. But the intent was that there will be a center aisle and that's only 7 deep. So even if a few of those chairs, the way they're lined up, are close to those benches,
it doesn't really
we didn't find it to be a concern.
Right, really, it's just increasing revenue in that you will have a wedding space as well as a reception space. Because you don't have that at this point in time with chairs.
Make it more usable.
Yes, and an interesting backstory to those blocks. They're currently located right in the middle of where that seating space would be. But we wanted to preserve them because they're somewhat historic. They come from
Were they from the penitentiary?
Yeah, yeah, so we wanted to keep them there, and I thought moving them as some
Yeah, I-
seating back into the grove would be nice.
I think it's gonna be more attractive than
Yeah.
that right there anyways.
I like the geometry that you created with how the benches are in the lounge grill.
So the idea is when the pool goes away, it'll just be paved with bricks to match what's there.
Correct, yeah.
I wonder if you want to move those two right there in the front back a little bit, just gives you a little bit more open space there.
That's that area that we
That's-
would consider working with the art commission if we wanted to put something in,
Uh-huh.
right there in the future,
Okay.
but that was kind of the idea, is there's some flexibility in that space right there too.
So they could be moved and so, okay, and then, art would be something down the line but there's a location here for, actually, that park is a good place. You could do more than one piece of art in there. And I guess what I'm hearing is, let's say that you decide, hey, guess what, we need another, pool or splash area for the kids. You've got plenty of ground to do it on. Is that the idea? That's kind of adjacent, but this just allows you to use this for what I think I'm hearing you say there's demand for.
Yeah, as a site, the highest demand we get is for the rental activities that take
Sure.
place. From the aquatic standpoint, citywide, we are hugely investing right now in new aquatic facilities. If you've happened to browse through the aquatics plan that came out a year or two ago, kind of lays out what we're doing citywide to make sure that there's good access to the pools and splash pads.
Sure. Okay, any other questions from anybody, comments?
I think it's an improvement.
I do too. I
The
think,
splash pad just never seemed to fit with everything else there.
Well, you know, I have grandchildren, and so we go over there all the time.
they like to splash.
What was that?
I'm just saying that there, and when you look at the demographics of what is happening over there, there are more youth who are there, and Bicentennial Park is quite a hike if you have young children. You know, unless they're in a stroller. So I think it's a great idea. I'm just looking at in the arena district, that is not that much. Other than McPherson, but that's just green space.
I think what you're hearing is maybe put that in the register for something to think about down
Yeah,
the road.
Right.
Yeah,
I noticed, I took my daughter to Washington DC last year, and they had a lot of smaller splash pads, almost like a micro splash pad, but they were really convenient, especially because it was about 105 degrees out. So
Oh,
Yeah,
I think that's worth considering for sure.
yeah.
yeah, good. Okay, questions, comments?
I just had one thing too. You know,
Okay.
because you're using it for weddings a lot, and then when the people are exiting from the center aisle and they're looking north, that when you're considering the public art you were talking about or some other site feature, that center area where right now you have one of those benches might be an interesting location, because that would act like a focal point and something, you know, a very interesting terminus and experience for people coming down that center aisle.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
you're spot on. That was the original idea.
Okay, any other comments?
I think the reuse, the location of the stones is a nice move, nice repurposing of that. I do like the archway as well. I think it's like a sculptural as well as kind of the ceremonial element. And I guess, you know, for the archway design, I mean, thinking about kids, I mean, it could be like a climbable thing. So maybe with the bar design, just something to consider for kind of use the design to deter from climbing.
It's worth considering, yeah.
Yeah, that was thought about that, and I think the angle deters it, but it's still, things are going to be climbed. And
Okay,
yeah.
what's the pleasure of the group? Is there anyone want to make a motion? Did I hear? All right, there's a motion. Is there a second? Thank you. Okay, any other questions or comments? Anything from the audience?
Could we make, like on the approval, could we make on the motion, could we make a non-binding recommendation perhaps to investigate at future date a water element on the site or something else that's engaging for children?
I will certainly bring it up to our director. She, you know, I brief her on this frequently, and she's seen and likes it. So I will mention that to her when I.
It might be something that's near where the arch is, that's used for ceremonies, but then when you don't have ceremonies, it's something that children can enjoy.
Okay.
It just gets occupied during the reception.
I'll just note for clarity there very quickly that there's a basement.
On the other side of the wall.
There's a basement below that archway near it, which is possible.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed? Thank you very much. Did you say no?
No,
Oh, aye,
good.
okay,
I support.
okay.
Thank
Okay, good. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Next case.
This is the last case. So this is 40 West Lawn, for exterior building alterations, landscaping, and engineering. 40 West Lawn, we all know where that is, but it's right here. It's formerly the YMCA building, but pretty much catty corner to where we are. So this is what we're talking about today. This is the former downtown YMCA building at the northeast corner of North Main Street and West Long Street. The applicant is seeking commission approval to convert the currently vacant YMCA building into 121 affordable housing units consisting of studio, 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units. The target AMI, or area median income, is at or below 30% and up to 80%. Proposed exterior alterations included as needed like-for-like repairs and replacement of historic building materials, replacing existing windows, removing fire escapes, and adding a stair tower. The submission includes existing condition photos, site plans, demolition plans, elevations, floor plans, roof plan, material specifications and cut sheets, sections, as well as lighting and landscaping plans. And if you look at the materials, there's a lot here, but essentially, just those minor repairs to the exterior, given the historic context of the building. It's sort of I would say a lighter touch to the outside. But we have these elevations here noting all of that, and then interior plans as well. But I'll let the applicant speak to a lot of this, I would say. And then in reviewing the guidelines, they recommend adaptive reuse of existing buildings as a way of enhancing and energizing downtown. The guidelines also recommend the use of high-quality materials and the preservation of historic lighting and landscaping elements where possible. Finally, the guidelines encourage property owners to develop shared parking agreements. And staff notes this building is on the National Register of Historic Places, but it's not registered locally, and therefore is not subject to review by the Historic Resources Commission. And the proposal is generally consistent with downtown design code. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Could you identify yourselves for the record, please?
Sure. Diana Wellman, Naylor Wellman Preservation Consultant.
Monica Jo Burning, PCI Design Group, I'm the architect.
Jonathan McKay, Vice President, Woda Cooper Development.
Could you raise your right hands? You swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so say I do.
I do.
Thanks very much. Okay, you submitted this, what we're seeing really is what's there now, pretty much. Just so we understand what you're doing, are you going to clean the brick at all, or just leave the brick as is?
I believe the intention would be to clean the brick, especially after the construction work. This is probably not something that's going to take 2 months to do. We're looking at a couple of years. So just from that standpoint, I think we need to clean the brick.
Yeah, okay. So it might brighten it a little bit, which I think would be good. Secondly, you're gonna replace the windows. That jumps out at me. I've looked at that over the years. The windows that are kind of in there now, which are obviously replacements.
They were badly replaced.
Yeah.
Years ago.
Right. And so where are we going from there? When you say that, that kind of sounds positive to me.
So
ideally, we'd get windows that would be better than what are there.
So what is there now are pillows. Prior to that, there was 1950 aluminum, like horizontal divided.
Oh, geez,
Yeah, they were really bad. So this building was renovated in 1993 under the Historic Tax Credit Program.
Okay.
And that we are also using the Historic Tax Credit Program.
Yep.
So we are still looking at a Pello Traditional Reserve. It's an aluminum clad window.
But
It
I think
allows
some of
us-
their windows have gotten better.
Yeah, they have. We'll actually be able to keep the brick mold. We actually were out there with the site with their white hasn't changed ever. So, we can clean it up, and there was someone out there with a magic eraser. I think they're gonna find a more effective use than doing a magic eraser. But we felt really confident after that, that the new windows in the brick mold, with the brick mold remaining, and the new windows, it would not be like, oh, wow, they replaced the windows, but they didn't replace the brick mold. That was our biggest concern. They will just be double hungs. They will not be a divided light.
What they have in there originally, before?
They were 6/1s.
They were what?
6/1s. So there were 6 multi-panel over a 1.
Do we have a picture of that anywhere or?
I don't know that we submitted a postcard.
6/1, that's interesting for that design.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
What color were they? Do you know offhand?
No, because black and white and.
Way back when?
Yeah, white would be in the
We're
range.
Back there then. When was this building built?
I want to say it's like 1903 or
I was
5.
thinking 1920.
Oh, okay, sorry.
1920s.
I thought it was
Yeah.
a little early.
1924
Okay.
is exact date or exact year.
Do you have pictures of the window product?
We do not have pictures with this, although I think the cut sheets were submitted.
Yeah.
They were.
I didn't see it.
I've always thought the white was kind of harsh.
Would you?
But if you're saving part of what's there, it's not big easy to change it.
Yeah, the Pellas that are there now had a storm.
For the windows of the.
So at that time, the way Pella did their windows, there was an interior clip storm and an interior clip screen. And so obviously we don't want that. So we're going back with an insulated glazing unit that will have screens.
We'll have screens.
They will have screens.
Half screens, whole screens.
They'll be half screens for the lower, just, they will be a single hung, so only the bottom unit will operate and they'll only operate that 4-inch. That's,
Are you replacing all of the windows or only?
all of the windows.
I'm gonna qualify that.
Okay, sure.
All of the windows except the windows in the current gymnasium. Those. we
Which is
believe
in the
will be
back of
safe.
the building. Or on
Which is in the back of the building. They will not be visible really from any of the streets.
Right.
And then on the ground level where you have the glass block, that's being replaced also with the new Pella windows.
Yes.
So yes and no. So there are some areas where we are keeping the glass block that we have. And there are some areas that glass block on Lafayette that are gonna be louvers, or maybe they're changing to a door on some of those secondary elevations. There are also these strange aluminum windows on,
One of the upper floors.
yeah, one of the upper floors. So we have front Wall Street?
Wall Street. Oh,
Yeah.
I know. what you
And we're putting those back to what should have been there historically, which is like a triple or a quad double hung window. They're kind of a weird thing.
So I noticed, I don't know if I read this correctly, but in the packet, it said something about certain doors that would remain in the core renovation, but then later would be changed. I don't know if I understood that correctly.
So what that means is that there are some doors we may put in temporarily during the construction process because those are most likely going to get beaten up during that time period. So we are replacing all the exterior doors at the end of the day, whether it's during construction or whether it's a little bit later. And we are intending to add a few doors for things like a water room, utilitarian items. We've tried to reuse existing openings, existing window openings wherever we could. And there is an existing overhead, I think it's actually 2 overhead garage doors that we will be replacing, same size and type. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah,
There
I
are
saw the window schedule, but I didn't see the door, the doors that you're proposing. Would that be coming back later? Or-
I suppose it would need to, if you need to approve that. We have submitted, a lot of this is based on what SHPO and
Right.
NPS is going to be dictating to us. So we have the front doors on Long Street would be replaced with a wood door with glazing inserts. I don't know if that was in this package. We've updated it since, that are what I would consider historically correct
Right.
for the building, as opposed to the aluminum storefront doors that are there currently. So that would bring it back to the nature of the building. There's also one door that is a secondary entrance to the building on Front Street. That would also be replaced to be historically correct with a nice wood door.
Yeah, so there's, if you're looking at the front of the building, you have the main entrance and then there are these 2 little light wells. There is a historic door that remained. It's very beat up. but it gave us the guidance we needed to do the front door and that side door in front. So it will look like it looked historically. And that was a request by SHPO as well.
What are you doing for accessibility? If I know the front door is not accessible now.
So the front street entrance, which is minor, but it is there, that would have our accessible entrance. Currently, there is an accessible lift inside that. We're going to revamp that little lobby area right inside to allow for a better entrance that is more suitable for the public than what is there currently. So right now, once you get to that accessible lift inside the door, the only way you can get to another floor is to take that lift. We're going to be adding a companion stair along with it and reconfiguring that in order to make it more usable for someone in a wheelchair and also a companion to enter with them.
Will that door be, it's labeled as an exit, will that be open to the same degree that the front doors are? I don't know, what kind of security you're gonna have.
Sure. Typically in our projects, and I'm assuming that we're going to be doing the same here, is we have basically a key fob for all of the residents.
Okay.
And it would unlock both those doors would have that same access.
Okay. Could you review the stair tower? The drawings are extensive, but on the computer screen, they're kind of hard to read.
Sure.
The new stair tower that we're proposing?
What does that look like? It's brick, right?
It is brick. It would match the existing. That brick would wrap all the way around the enclosure, except at the very back where we were going to be using a metal siding, which is consistent with what's on the interior of some of the areas of the courtyard.
So that's the existing. You're looking at the existing.
Yeah. Let's see if we've got the new. Okay, there you go. And those are shown, you can see what I would call the slightly lighter hatch. That is just shown to differentiate between the new and the existing. That would be the same material, same coloration of the brick. And let me just clarify that the reason those stair towers are being added is if you've been inside the building, you will understand that there is only one current stair that goes all the way through all the levels of the floor. Mm-hmm. So this is done primarily and almost exclusively in order to provide additional life safety and exiting out of the building. We feel it's extremely important to do that.
All those miscellaneous fire escapes.
And those will all go away then.
That's a good thing.
Yes, we agree.
And you can get access to the hallways with those, where you've located them.
Yeah, so it's a U-shaped hallway. So at the end of those,
Yeah, so it
at
works
the
out.
ends of the two, you had to take the fire escape to go. If you were to go out any other way, you had to take the fire escape for all 7 floors, which with multifamily, we don't want anybody doing that.
No, it's a nightmare at best. So yeah, we felt that was extremely critical to the success of the project and the safety of the residents.
Yeah, so as you can see, the doors, they'll just look like a door on the exterior. That's a SHPO National Park Service requirement, that the door element still appears, but on the inside, it will be drywalled over. There will be no indication to go.
What's that on the outside? Is it bricked? Where the
Yes.
doors are?
Yeah.
It'll be bricked in.
No, they will look like a door. It'll just be a flush metal panel.
Close in with the hallways with brick.
SHPO National Park Service will not let us do that.
You can't brick it in.
Can't brick it in.
Okay, any other questions on this? I mean, I guess what we're hearing is we're kind of leaving it the same, fixing it up, and it's gonna be housing, so.
I think it's a brilliant save, a very important building that would be difficult to, anyway, I think it's great. Give the flags back.
The banners along the side?
No, they're, angled flagpoles at the lower level, then there's a big flagpole on the roof, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, and there's also banners.
And they're banners.
There were
Banners.
banners. So because those are there as far as SHPO National Park Service, we can reenact them, and that is in our intent.
Okay, other questions, please?
To ask for the AMI, the 30 to the 80%, what percentage of the units would be falling in that range?
Oh, I could get you a specific breakdown. Right, you buy each income band level, basically. I can get you that. I don't have it on hand here.
Most of the units would be 80% anti, correct? And then a minority would be 30%. It's
Yeah.
typically how it shakes out.
Yeah, just because of the way the financing works. That's
Correct.
correct. We're using income averaging.
Yeah.
So I just want to know the percentage.
I'm sorry.
Because I want to know the percentage because 30%, that's really what is not available at this point in time.
Of the 30% mostly in the one bedrooms. In the studios. Yeah.
He's the number guy. I just draw the units.
I will tell you, we had the National Park Service come to visit and we need to get rid of the central corridor because the units are so small, they barely fit a twin room. And I could almost touch my arm from one side of the room to the other side of the room. So National Park Service was right on board with us as far as, that's not something they typically allow us to do, is to remove a central corridor. But they would not have been usable spaces.
Rooms were, I've been in the building.
They're tiny.
Tiny.
Yeah, like cells.
They really, yeah.
You could just get that information.
Yeah, why don't we,
Right.
yeah, what, can you do that? And then we'll, you can email it back. Okay, what's the pleasure of the group then at this point, please?
Excuse me.
You're looking for final approval, right?
Yeah.
Move approval.
Okay, is there a second? There's a second. Okay, questions or comments? Anything from the audience? Yes.
So the only comment I would make, I know this is probably out of scope, but this is an amazing building, an amazing downtown Columbus streetscape package would be a great addition to this project. Not suggesting anyone has the funding for that, but we've, learned over the past 25 years how to build great streets too, and this would be a great place to do that as well.
That's, I think that's a great point. How about lighting? Did we do anything on lighting? Is there lighting on this? Because I think lighting can enhance this.
We are going to reutilize or revamp the existing lighting near the two front entrances. There are some other wall packs around the perimeter of the building that we will replace with new, essentially in kind. We weren't planning on adding additional lighting at this point, other than just taking advantage of the fixtures that are already there and upgrading them.
And it's nice you're keeping those historic lanterns.
Yes, those would be staying. We're going to replace the guts of it, I guess, if you want to call it that, and bring those.
And the canopy over the front door stays in?
No, so the canopy over the front door right now, all that's left is really this aluminum frame that's.
Is
kind of
that
a
what
little
we're
bit
seeing
awkward.
in this?
No, this would be a new horizontal, relatively thin metal band with the lettering of the building on it that's gonna be hung from the same approximate points as where the existing canopy is. But we think that that's it. One of the issues with the way the current canopy was, is it would stick out into the sidewalk. And feels a little cheap to me, so we're going to enhance this with the.
Is there a brand they're doing now?
It doesn't appear there was a canopy.
Okay.
What is the material of this new canopy?
It would be probably an anodized aluminum of some sort.
Oh,
We're going to keep it relatively
Oh, good.
small. Yeah, that's what it looks like
That was
currently.
small.
We do not want that.
No.
And then on the front street side, there's a smaller version of that canopy. We're going to keep the canopy structure in place as it appears to be in pretty good condition. But we're going to replace that blue canopy with a new cloth or fabric cover.
It's gone now. That fabric is all
And,
gone now.
So there's some of the trim work around these windows is stone, is that right? And
Yeah.
they're with brick. So if you get clean, that'll just kind of maybe brighten that a little bit too.
I think so.
I mean, I don't think you want to scrub it. We don't want the patina to go away. But
Right.
I think if these buildings get brightened, I mean, this, all of a sudden you look at it, it's richer. It's a lot richer. And, to think about over time, maybe just somehow or another, very subtle lighting on this. I think you could enhance that building. You can make it pop a little bit. We don't want it to look like the shopping center, but lighting it to me is just, does big things sometimes. Okay, we do have a motion, and was that motion seconded?
Yeah, we're.
Yes.
Ready to
So
go.
there's a motion on the floor. Any other comments or questions?
I was able to get the percentages if you want that for the units. I apologize. So we have 33 units at 80% AMI, 36 at 60% AMI, 34 at 50% AMI, 17 at 40% AMI, and there's one unit at 30% AMI.
Oh, so it runs from 30% to 80.
So even though some that are up at in terms of the 80, even though we're allowed to go up to the 80%, doesn't mean that we necessarily would. Often we're coming in at a much lower number than that. At least gives us flexibility.
We understand.
Thank you.
Okay, any other thoughts? Yes.
I'm just wondering, because the color of the canopy, we don't know that. Do we feel that that's something that we should look at in the future, or we're not necessary? Just a thought.
The Chippewa National Park Service is gonna require it to not be like a shiny color. It's gonna have to probably be more something like a bronze. They wouldn't want it to be white. So it's gonna be somewhere in the bronze brown range.
Okay.
And is that section over the door there, is that stonework in there?
Yes, that's all stone. Yes. The idea was to still be able to see all the lancet work.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a transom that will probably get a little bit concealed from the canopy, but as Joe said, won't even go out half the length that it goes out now.
And the canopy is to provide protection from
Right,
rain or
right.
weather when you want.
Yes, this project.
So what is that gonna be? Are we gonna see that canopy then? Is it in here? Is it in the? maybe
It's
I-
in the, it's
But
in the
not
package.
That's not the finished color.
Right.
Oh, that's it right
Yeah.
there. Oh,
Right.
I see. Okay. And how far out does that stay?
It would be about, I think it's 5'7" from the front door. In order
Yeah,
to.
the front door is recessed a bit.
The front door is recessed a bit, so it would come out, I think, 2 or 3 feet over the sidewalk. We're required by OFA, one of our funding agencies, to provide a covered entry at all main doors, and that
Okay.
has to be 5'7" at this point. So that's what we're doing.
Okay, any other questions or
And the
comments?
original building didn't have any weather protection?
Not from the
Not
photos
from
that
the
we've
photos
seen.
of the post.
Interesting, interesting. Okay. Questions, comments? I don't need to ask the audience.
I wanted to say that
Go ahead.
I agree with Steve that I think if there's some subtle uplighting, let's say on some of those beautiful architectural features.
Or even the details, yeah, that
On
could
the
be.
details, I think it's got so much, the building has so much character, maybe some of those features can be uplit very subtly. I think it would look beautiful.
Oh, but do you have trouble with your historic people on that kind of thing?
No, we'll just, but we do have to review it and we've not presented it to them yet, so.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna call for the question, guys. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thanks.
Thank
Great,
you.
thank you very much.
Yeah, look forward to it. Okay, do we have anything else or?
Give us time. It's gonna take some time.
Okay.
Last is just accepting the staff report.
Okay, is there a motion to do so, please? And is there a second?
Second.
Okay, questions for Belkis or Adam? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? None, thank you. Anything else?
I know, I'll just be in touch about the room location. for next
Okay,
month. It
sure.
likely won't be in this room.
We'll look forward to hearing from you.
All we have been told is there will be enhancements. We don't know. Some renovations.
By the way, as far as I'm concerned, this is a lovely one, but they don't need to spend money on my days, but
I do.
it works. Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
Welcome back.
Welcome back again. How's the baby?
They're good, both. of them.
Hey.
Yeah, twins.
I had twins.
Oh, tell us that.
I did, actually.
Boy, that one didn't want to hear and out the other. Okay, good to see everybody.